You go to college to get the career, but you come out with a whole lot of debt and you don't end up working in the same career field that you had studied for in the first place. It happens to way too many of us. In this episode of StewardShift, we give exposure to several good paying careers that you don't need to take out student loans for.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is StewardShift, a show that gives you the tools you need to get the most of your best resources. Your money, your mind, your body, your time.
Welcome back to the StewardShift Show. My name is Troy Solomon Levy, and I am your host. Several years ago, I was hanging out with Senate Chaplain Dr. Barry Black. And if you don't know anything about Dr. Black, just kind of study up on him, read up on him. Wonderful man, probably an even better leader. So a group of us were in the middle of grad school and we just kind of huddled around him. He was hanging out with us and it was just a great time. But one of us had asked him what we should bank on studying next. Like I said, we were in grad school and I assumed he would say something like, go on and get your doctoral degree. Dr. Black has a doctoral degree, maybe two, if I remember correctly. I thought he was going to say something like that. I thought he was going to say that that would help you to advance your career, as it has helped him to advance his career, as he is a former Rear Admiral of the Navy, I believe, the top chaplain in the military. Like, he just has a great trajectory for his career. So I thought he was going to say something like, man, just get all the formal education that you could ever get. But I was wrong. He, in fact, told us as a group that we need to study as much about leadership as we possibly can. His advice really stunned me because as an academician, he's very academic. He has studied a lot. Like I said, doctoral degree, just the whole nine. I thought that that's what he was going to tell us, but I was wrong. He said you need to study as much about leadership theory and practice as you possibly can. And that really stuck with me. In fact, I remember I didn't dismiss it right away, but I just thought the advice was weird. Now, mind you, I'm in my very early 20s, don't know a whole lot about life, don't have a whole lot of life experience. But now, several years later, I really understand what he was saying. And we're going to come back to that whole leadership piece later on in our episode. But I want to give us just a bit of advice, especially in today's world. You know, if we were talking to our parents and our grandparents, they would tell us something to the effect that we need to get as much education, formal education, as possible. We need to go to a 4-year college. If you can, get a master's degree. If you can, get a doctoral degree. And I think that in their world, that made a whole lot of sense because there weren't a whole lot of people doing those things. So getting a formal education and doing that as much as possible, like going up to the higher heights of your educational journey, that made sense because not a whole lot of people were doing that. So that was something that separated you from the crowd. In today's world, a whole lot of people have college degrees. So getting a college degree, while it's great to have the knowledge of certain things, that's nice and all, but it doesn't separate us from the next person who has a college degree. And by the way, a lot of what we learn in college, I'm not against going to college, but a lot of things that we learn can be readily available doing a quick Google search or doing some free modules on some of these platforms, these educational platforms. So it's not something that, where you need to go to that place to get that exclusive knowledge. The knowledge is not exclusive anymore. And when you come out in the end, you're not separated from the next person. And just the job market can be saturated with people who have college degrees. And I would dare say that getting a master's degree and even a doctoral degree, if you're looking to enter into certain job markets, those things aren't separating people as much anymore. If you look in the job market field for PhDs who are particularly looking to teach, that is a hard thing to break into. There are a whole lot of PhDs who are coming out begging for jobs, and these jobs aren't really paying a whole lot, not compared to the amount of work that they've put in to their academic journey. So I'm saying all that to say that I'm going to give 10 jobs that you don't need any educational, in terms of college degrees, you don't need any education to do these things. Very, very minimal. Let's just say minimal education. You do not need a 4-year college degree, which will in turn reduce the amount that you need to borrow. And I'm against borrowing as much as possible. Anyways, this will even eliminate the need to borrow for student loans or anything like that in order to do these things. So I'm going to give them to you in order of least average amount that you can make, all the way up to the greatest average amount that people are making in these jobs. So first and foremost, you can come out making $43,000, let's just call it $43,500, by being a garbage collector. Look, I look out my window twice a week and I see them collecting the garbage. And many times in our society, we have this thing about garbage collectors. It's almost like a disdain for them in some circles. And let me tell you, first of all, we shouldn't disdain anyone, especially people who are doing these kinds of social services for all of us. We would be doomed as a society with all kinds of diseases and just nastiness in our streets if we did not have garbage collectors. So we thank God for garbage collectors. If you are a garbage collector or know a garbage collector, man, thank God for them. But they make decent money. It's not the most money in the world, but you don't need to go to a 4-year college in order to do this. In fact, you don't need any kind of degree beyond high school in order to get a job like this. It's not the most money in the world again, but it could do, especially if you're looking to go to the next level. You could actually do this during the day and study at night if this isn't something that you don't want to do for the rest of your life. You can use this to make some money here and now in order to go to college at a different point in time to study something that maybe you really want to study instead of getting student loans to finance your degree. Next up, that's number one. Number two is a realtor. Now, I know that the real estate agent market can be a bit saturated in some markets because, look, I know all of us know someone who has gone to get their realtor's license. But just because you have a license doesn't mean that you are doing well as a realtor. But I think the realtor market is best for those who stick in there with it in the long term and have some sort of sales kind of feel to them, right? And if you want to know more about home buying or home selling in a market like today's, which is a very interesting housing market, check out our video with Mitch Pollard that we recorded several weeks ago. Okay, so that's number two. That's a realtor. The third one that I'm going to give you, man, I had this person come to my home. This was several weeks ago. And look, I promise you, I don't want to disparage what they did, but it was almost like they just flushed the toilet and charged me about $250, $275. And that's a plumber. Plumbers, electricians, and HVAC persons, they make pretty decent money. By the way, the realtor, I don't remember if I gave the figure that they make. It's $49,900. But for plumbers, electricians, and HVAC persons, they make around the same range of money, and that's around $60,200 or so per year. You'd be very, very surprised how much business they get. Like I said, I don't know much about plumbing, and I had a clog in my home, and I promise you, they flushed the toilet a few times. I'm kind of exaggerating here, but they did snake a drain in my home, and it really didn't take long, but they did charge me a lot because they knew exactly what to look for. They knew exactly what to do, and they were able to charge me a lot because I just didn't know what to do. And so as a plumber, electrician, and a HVAC service person, If you can get these skills, and by the way, you don't need to go to a 4-year college to get those skills, you can come out making around $60,000. Another group of individuals who are making pretty decent money are flight attendants. I know that everyone, if you've ever been on a flight, it's always nice to have someone who is smiling, who can service your flight in a great way. And flight attendants do make a good difference, not just for the companies that they work for, but for us as we travel. And you can come out making $63,760, and you don't need a college degree to do it. We've all driven by them on the road. Sometimes it can induce some fear as you drive next to them. It feels a bit scary, like they might come into your lane. But these drivers are making decent money, and these are commercial drivers. Commercial drivers on average make around $79,200 every year. And this is a decent career. You don't need much to do it. You can do this having a high school degree and having a CDL, a commercial driver's license, pass the test, and you can come out driving for someone, or you can drive your own truck, which is a great thing if you can afford to purchase one. Now, with commercial drivers, as well as all of these careers that I'm stating here and now, if you are able to be your own boss and you've developed those leadership skills, that would be a great thing. Again, I'm just emphasizing the fact that what Chaplain Barry Black told me and this other group of students, that we need to work on our leadership skills. Leadership is something that separates us from the pack. No longer, gone are the days when you can say, I have this degree, bachelor's, master's, doctoral, and this is something that separates. No, that's not the case, because there are a lot of people who have degrees upon degrees, like several of them, but are poor leaders. They don't have the leadership skills. They haven't developed themselves. They don't have the self-awareness to lead others. And I'm telling you that leadership is what separates us from the pack. Not just when you work for the company. Yes, when you work for someone else, when you're an employee and you're managing others, that's something that, you have those leadership skills that benefits the company, because you're able to lead everyone else that they have hired. Yes, that's well and fine. But as an entrepreneur, if you plan on having your own business, at some point, you're going to need to hire somebody, whether those are contractors, whether those are employees, whether you're just hiring someone to just do a simple job. You're going to have to lead people at some point. And developing those leadership skills are going to be very, very important so that you can maximize your earning potential. All right, so those are the first 5. And we're going to keep growing in this list as the number in terms of income gets higher and higher. Next on this list of 10 careers that you should explore that you do not need a 4-year degree for is a registered nurse. That's number 6. My wife is a nurse. She's a registered nurse. Matter of fact, she just earned her DMP to become a nurse practitioner. But for the past several years, she has been a registered nurse. And one thing that I did not know early on is that as a registered nurse, you do not need a BSN to do that. I thought that earlier on, many years ago. A BSN is a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. But in fact, you can get an associate's degree and come out making very good money as a registered nurse. That's $81,200. That's the average that a registered nurse can make. Now, let me just spend just a little bit of time right here, because this is one of my favorite professions, my favorite careers, not just because my wife is a nurse, but man, as I've observed her career trajectory, yes, she did get her BSN. She did not get the 2-year degree. She got her BSN, which is well and fine. I'm suggesting that you can, in fact, do the 2-year thing, the associates, and come out making very, very good money as an RN, a registered nurse. But as a BSN, my wife was able to spend just 3 more years after that 4-year degree in order to get her doctoral degree to become a nurse practitioner. And she didn't even need to do that. She could have spent 2 years in a master's program and come out making very, very good money as a nurse practitioner, but she went on and did the doctoral thing because she probably at some point wants to teach. And if you want to teach, then that would be a great career path or a great educational path for nurses. But the career trajectory for nurses is great in terms of the amount of education that you need or don't need in order to practice well. So nursing, that is a very, very good profession. If you've ever bought a house, that house obviously was built. It was built by a contractor, built by construction managers and those who are subcontractors. And construction managers do not need a whole lot of education in order to do that. And they come out making on average $88,100. Very, very good career choice to do that. Something else that's very, very much related to a construction manager is a concrete pump operator. And they make $98,500 on average. These are, if you've ever seen these trucks where this kind of doing this, I don't even know what you call it, but it's rotating because there is concrete in there. Well, those people who drive those trucks and operate those trucks are what you call concrete pump operators, and they make very, very good money. You do need a CDL, as far as I have seen, in order to do that, and you have to keep your truck clean, but they make very, very good money. If you've ever been to the dentist, and I hope you have, the dentist does not do all the work. They make a good amount of money, but they have people who work with them called dental hygienists who make very good money also at $99,000 per year. They clean your teeth. They teach you how to do certain things, how to floss and all that good stuff. And they do a lot, right? But they make very, very good money. And you do not have to get an advanced degree in order to do that. Now, coming in at number 10, this really, really blew my mind because I did not realize that this group of people make this amount of money. And those are air traffic controllers. They work for the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, and they do have training. And there are many people who do end up getting their bachelor's degrees from an FAA approved training facility or initiative before attending the FAA Academy. But you can have a high school degree or a GED in order to start making money as an air traffic controller. Now, this does tend to be a high stress job. You have seen some of them in the news as of late because of the near crashes and sometimes crashes that have been happening at airports. But if you can do this job well, you can make $132,200 as an air traffic controller. So I just want us to make just a bit of a shift as you think about your career and what it means to make money in your own life. And here's a small shift that you can make. I want you to think again about having to go to a classic 4-year college. Think again about it, right? Not everyone needs to do that. If you don't plan on, I'm not sure if anyone goes to a 4-year school and says, oh, well, I don't plan on doing that anyways. I don't think anyone ends up doing that. But there are so many of us who do not end up working in the career field that we studied for. And if you're unsure, especially if you're unsure about what you want to do in life, don't just go to college to get a 4-year degree and you're using student loans to finance that. Don't do that. If you're unsure, hey, let's find a career using your high school diploma, find a job. And if you want to go to school using that job, that's fine. No problem. But let's not get caught in this student loan trap and we're unsure of what we really want to do in our lives. So let's think again about having to do that. And you never know. You might find that you love that job so much, and that combined with your leadership training, studying about leadership, and this is the big shift. Study leadership principles so that you can be at the top of whatever field you decide on going into. I don't care if it's garbage collecting, I don't care if it's being a commercial driver or being a flight attendant. When you study leadership principles, when you learn how to speak in public, when you learn how to treat people who are under your authority, when you learn how to have conflict resolution and how to communicate well, like these are skills that the vast majority of people do not have or are not good at. But if you make yourself good at them, you're making yourself indispensable to whatever company that you might work for, or even to your own company if you are an entrepreneur. Make yourself indispensable by learning leadership principles as much as you can. So let's put some scripture on this before we close. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 10. The wise man Solomon says this: whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. I don't care if it's a small job, large job, making a little bit of money, making a whole lot of money. If you're doing it, do it with all your might. And when you do it with the thought of being a leader and not just an employee. I assure you that your career will end up doing well.